Welcome to CLIC Connect. We've got a very special part 2 show for you today. This is going to be the Women in Hospitality Leadership Alliance, and we're talking to deal people today. And I've got a very special co-host, but before we bring her out, I do want to thank our advertising partner on this, Chicago Title National Commercial Services, their national hospitality group. Talk to Ryan Huntsman over there. He's covering the entire country. He's got a great team for both title, escrow settlement services, customer service needs as well. So these guys can help you get the deal closed on time. And with today's group, that's always important. So give Ryan a call. Let him know that Dr. Producer and Director Suzanne and I sent you. They'd love to talk to you. Thank you very much. All right. I am so excited. One of my favorite people on the planet is joining me today as co-host, Lan Elliott. How are you, Lan?
Craig, it is great to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a while. So happy to be here and to have the opportunity to co-host with you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for everything that you're doing with the Alliance. And, since we had our initial meeting over a year ago at the Lodging Conference, and I got you and our friend Rachel Humphrey to make an appearance at CLIC 8, our California-focused investment conference. You guys hit it out of the park, and my mind has just been racing in overdrive since then. So we had our part 1 introducing some of the people that are available to the community and beyond for speaking opportunities. And then you picked a great group to join us today, and we're going to talk to people that are on the deal side. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be able to bring these ladies on. When I had a chance to say, who would I like to bring on? I thought, I've never seen a podcast with women in hotel real estate. And wouldn't I have loved to have seen that when I was starting my journey? So I am thrilled that you let me focus this on the amazing women in hotel real estate.
Absolutely. And for all the conference promoters out there, we've got quite a panel for you to choose from to ask them to join your conference and talk about the commercial acquisitions and development and refinances and everything to do with real estate. So thank you, Lan.
Absolutely.
Would you like to introduce our panel?
I would love to. Shall we bring them on?
Yes.
All right. We've got Linda Yao, Nele Breitbart, and Carmen Almos. And I would love if you ladies would tell us where you work, what you do there. Linda, you want to start?
Sure, absolutely. I am Senior Vice President of Investments with Pebblebrook Hotel Trust. I help oversee acquisitions, dispositions, anything really to do with the real estate value of our owned portfolio.
Amazing. And Nele?
Hi, Lan. Thanks so much for having me and Craig as well. I work for Waramaug Hospitality, and I oversee a portfolio of 30 hotels from an asset management perspective, and I also help on the acquisition side of the business.
Amazing. Carmen?
Hi, Lan. Hi, Craig. I'm Carmen Almos. I started Ashburton Hospitality 2.5 years ago. Hard to believe. We asset manage a portfolio of 24 hotels. We also provide transaction advisory services. So we're helping clients buy hotels and divest from hotels.
Nice. What a diverse background. I'm loving all of this. So, let's just jump right into this. I want to ask all three of you the first question, please. And Carmen, we'll start with you, then Nele, and then Linda. What led each of you to find hospitality?
So I always say I didn't find hospitality. Hospitality found me. I grew up in my family's little motel in Kingsport, Tennessee. Most people don't even know where that is. But, I got to see firsthand how a really small team, which is my family, my mom, my dad, and my sisters, could change somebody's day just by showing up and providing the best service that we possibly could. So that has really just been embedded in my DNA, and I've carried that throughout my life. And I found a job that I really love. I turned something that I thought was really insignificant and embarrassing when I was in high school, like, oh, I work in my parents' motel, into a career.
I love it. Great story. Nele?
Well, I fell in love with the hospitality at the age of 14. I was doing an internship in Hamburg at a Marriott hotel. And at that point, I was dreaming of becoming a general manager in New York City. I never made it to that, but that spark that never left me. And then after graduating high school in Germany, I went straight into hotel operations, and I loved every bit of it. I think the fact that people and teamwork really make up the heart of a hotel and its operation is what drew me into it. And frankly, still keeps me grounded today. As in most hotel real estate transactions, I'm saying most, not all of them, I think the overall success of a deal is fundamentally linked to the heart and the health of the hotel operations.
Wonderful. Love it. Linda?
Sure. So I never had any hospitality work experience in high school, but I ended up applying to hotel school when I was applying to colleges. And it was, only an hour and a half away from where I grew up, and I ended up attending it. And all throughout college, I was working every summer in hospitality, and I just fell in love with it. I think my personality just fits with, I'm an extrovert. I love speaking to people. I love making people happy. And it was a natural fit for me. So I'm very excited that I ended up choosing the hospitality industry. And I've, journeyed through many facets of it, but started my career in operations and really enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Lan, I want to know how you found hospitality. It's going to be one of two questions that you'll participate in. I know you didn't know about this, so I apologize.
To share, growing up, I lived on a small island in Singapore. And if you wanted to go on vacation, you were going to get on an airplane and fly somewhere. And I was lucky to have amazing vacations with my parents. And I thought the magic of being at a beautiful hotel, I thought I would love to do that. And then you add on top of that, in the 1980s, now I'm really dating myself, there was a TV show called Hotels. And I thought when I saw that TV show, that's what I want to do. I didn't want to be Connie Selica, who was the uber efficient number 2. I wanted to be the general manager, the number 1 person who was running the whole hotel, because that's what I knew about hospitality. So like Nele, I wanted to be a general manager of a luxury hotel. And I went to hotel school and thought that's what I was going to do. And then I took a right turn.
Nice. I love it. I love all these stories. I think, we've all got these great entry points, and we've got amazing careers. And I love it when I'm speaking at a commercial real estate conference. I just tell everybody, I work in the best part of commercial real estate, and that's hospitality. So I feel sorry for all of you.
It is definitely the most fun area of real estate, I think. But we tend to be off on our own, right? Because I think our people are the most fun. And so it's an interesting part of the industry to be in. And I'm really curious how each of you, although you found hospitality, how did you find your way to hotel real estate? Because it's not the most obvious career for most people outside looking into the industry. Carmen, do you want to start?
Yeah. So I graduated during the great financial crash in 2008. Now I'm really dating myself here. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was like, you know what? I'll go to law school, and maybe that will be something that I'll want to do. But I hadn't really taken the LSAT or prepared to go to law school. So I was like, okay, I'll go work at a law firm. So I went to work for a bankruptcy attorney in 2008, and he was so incredibly busy. So I got to see an interesting side of the corporate world. And I hated it. And I was like, I got to find something I want to do. And so somebody was like, well, you really love hospitality, so try to get back into hotels. And a job came up to interview for a hotel asset management role back in South Africa. And I remember I was on my way to the interview and I'm like Googling, what is hotel asset management? Because I had no idea what hotel asset management was or what they do. And I went to the job interview and the guy was like, you've got no experience, but you seem to be really determined and have a lot of drive. So I'm going to take a chance on you and give you the job. And he gave me my first job asset managing a Fairmont in South Africa and Zanzibar and a multi-luxury development in the Seychelles. And I remember I walked into my first monthly review with the GM. He took one look at me. I was like in my mid-20s and he was like, nope, not doing this. And he walked out of the room because he was not about to do a monthly review with me. And, that really like subverted me to like come back the next month, like really prepared and drill him on like his expenses and like earn his respect. Yeah. And to this day, I'm still friends with him. But I really cut my teeth in asset management on the luxury side of hospitality. So it's been a wild journey to where I am today.
That's amazing. Linda, how about you? How did you find real estate?
Yeah, so mine was kind of a windy path to get here. I started in operations, as I mentioned before. And I remember when I was there, I was looking in the lobby and I saw my general manager walking around with somebody in the lobby. And I asked him later, who was that? And he said, that's the asset manager for the owner of this hotel. And I thought, that's interesting. I want to do that. I want to be on the ownership side. And it kind of broadened my horizons a little bit. And I realized I didn't necessarily have the skill set to be able to go out and basically tell my boss at the time, how to improve his operations. And so I really took my time to learn the business. I stayed in operations for a few years. I ended up working for HVS, doing appraisals and feasibility studies, really understanding how to value hotels and how kind of the world values hotels. And then I ended up on the brokerage side. So that really helped broaden my horizons just in terms of understanding the capital stack, how lenders underwrote hotels and how owners looked at hotels. And then from there, I ended up finding a position on the acquisition side with private equity, which brought me to Maryland. And so I've been on this side ever since. I've done investments and I've done asset management, both on the principal side. And it's just been an amazing journey. I absolutely love this part of the business. And I think this is kind of where I'd like to stay. But really, I mean, focusing on kind of learning all the facets of the business have really helped me as I've grown in my career. And so I really appreciated all the steps that led me to here.
Amazing. Nele, wow. How did you go? How did you go from originally wanting to be a luxury general manager to now heading asset management and investments for Waramaug?
Well, as I said, I started in hotel operations right after college in Germany, and I absolutely loved it. But my parents have both an academic background, so I decided I need some academic background, and I applied at that point to what I believed, and I still think it holds true to the best hotel school in the world, Cornell. And by my surprise, I got in. The reason I got in, I think, was because Rupert Spies, he's a Cornell professor, he visited me at the hotel that I was working at the time in Germany. So I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. And then after Cornell, I joined Hyatt's feasibility department in Chicago. And I worked there for a short period of time and learned really the analytical deal side. And that brought me to what I wanted to search for, is kind of the intersection, I believe, of ops and deal and finance. Real estate is asset management. And I joined Hotel AVE in 2007, also dating myself. And I've been in asset management ever since. I absolutely love it. I think it's the perfect combination of truly understanding operations, but getting to evaluate deals and all the financial metrics and understanding, from a capital perspective. And then what I love most is creating value for investors, employees, and communities.
Yeah, amazing.
Love it. It's so impressive, each one of you. And I'm just sitting here in awe of all of you. So, are any of you and Nele, I want to start with you. Are you continuing your formal education, i.e., online programs, certificates, degrees, or something a little less structured like company workshops and so on?
Yeah, I've done that since I guess I left Cornell. I'm a big believer in continuous learning and education. I'm not pursuing another formal university degree, but certainly certificates and online courses. I'm very interested in AI and data analytical tools. Also, any initiatives through our various industry organizations such as HAMR or HNLA. I think our industry evolves so quickly, so we gotta stay on top of it and stay curious and learn, especially as we get older.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more with you. And it just so happens that Dr. Producer Director Suzanne does have AI certificate courses that are online. Just to give her a plug, and FIU. So, Linda, how about you?
The most recent academia that I was involved in was I went to Harvard, has summer programs, and they ran an executive leadership course that I participated in. It's just a week-long course, but it was fascinating because so much of my education is in hospitality and very focused on hospitality or real estate between the conferences that I attend and the webinars that I participate in. But this was just a wide variety of different people. And so that was really refreshing just to see. I mean, there's people from NASA. There was just brilliant people who I don't normally cross paths with professionally. And just hearing just different perspectives and where everybody is in their career. But I thought that was really valuable just because, again, so much of what I do and learn is hospitality related. And this was just pure business, pure, executive leadership development.
I love that idea. And I think stepping outside of our comfort zone of hospitality is always a good idea, especially if you're dealing with communities that have newer development. I worked for a subsidiary of LNR when they were owned by Lennar Homes. And I was constantly talking with those guys, and they were coming up with new communities, what the commercial aspect was and everything else. And they always wanted the hotel project to start first. And it was always a big battle with them. No, you're going to kill the hotel. No, do something else first. So, Carmen, how about you?
I'm not pursuing any university degrees currently. I have 3 kids and I'm running 2 businesses. So time is very valuable to me. But, similarly, just pursuing any like structured programs or hands-on workshops. I find a lot of benefits come out of the conferences, right? Because there's a lot of educational opportunities there and staying ahead of the trends. But it's definitely like a non-negotiable investing in the education side of my personal growth, because I think that's what helps us be better leaders in general.
Couldn't agree more with you. I mean, that was part of the focus with my conferences was,
learning.
Day and a half, great information, get the audience involved, have outstanding networking, and then they can all go back to their offices and start passing out the information that they got. Couldn't agree more with you. Lan, you got like 3 questions in a row now. I can't wait to just watch.
I know. Don't fall asleep.
I won't. Trust me, I won't.
Well, I thought that these questions could be more of a discussion rather than going one by one. But I wanted to talk about within the hotel real estate world, there are quite a few women now, just not at the C-suite level, chief investment officers, chief development officers. And I'm curious what your thoughts are. Why is this, do you think?
Man, I've been dealing with this over the last 2 weeks, which is like so frustrating to me, but I am developing my first hotel. That's me personally working my first hotel development. And, there's the brands all have these programs that are designed to help bring more women into the ownership seat, right? Like, how can we change the face of ownership? So through the course of starting this hotel and developing this hotel, I've been reaching out to the brands to say, hey, I want to tap into this program that you've got, right? And I'm not going to name specifics of the brands, but you start with the woman that's leading that program, and then they pass you off to someone that's been in that role for like 20 years, right? And they have no idea how the program works, and they have no idea what the benefits of the program are. And you're like scratching your head because you're like, well, isn't this part of your brand? Like, what are you talking about? And I think that is like the fundamental issue I see in hospitality is like, yes, we have more women coming into leadership roles, but structurally, we still have legacy people that are sitting in some of those C-suite roles. And until the industry says we need more representation in those roles, I struggle to see how things are going to change. And it has been a frustrating experience over the last 2 weeks because I literally like sent the CEO of that brand an email and said, you've got to get more representation at a very senior development level within your organization, or else your program is fundamentally not going to work. Like, when are we going to change this?
Great point.
Yeah.
Now, I would comment on the change. And how many of you were at the lodging conference this year?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway, besides them having the best educational component out of all the hotel conferences, was I saw the changing of the guard. Okay. There were a lot of new faces this year, more so than any other year,
Okay.
which I thought was a very good thing. People like me, I'm aging out. Okay. I've been doing this for 30 years, and it's just like, okay, it's
Craig, we still like the old white dudes. We still like you. It's not personal. We still think you guys are great. We just want a chance too.
Thank you. But I saw a diversity that I hadn't seen in the past. And the thing that also struck me was this conference, above any of the others that I typically attend, has the ability to move forward with this new group that's coming in. And there will be an impact that conference will make on the industry.
Yeah, and we're trying to get more women on the podium, you know, and not just women on the women's panel and saying, oh, we had a women's panel, check the box, we're done, but really having women on panels discussing their subject matter expertise. And one of the things that we hear about is the first thing when you go to a conference organizer, they say, we ask, why aren't there more women? The first thing they always say is there are no women. And I go, well, that's not really true. I know women. And I have a philosophy that if you want to find women in a particular area, ask the women, because they know the other 5 women that are in that area, right? Because there's not that many of us and we stand out. But you know, I think this idea of women on the stage talking about their subject matter expertise, I'm just curious for the ladies, what has been your perception of women in hotel real estate speaking, and you know, how if that's evolved over the years?
Yeah, I definitely think it's evolving. I mean, Lan, you're such a leader in this field. I mean, you've really provided opportunities for a lot of women in our industry to speak at conferences, on panels, and that's been a great opportunity. I think it's changing. I agree with Craig. You're seeing more and more, which is wonderful to see. There's still obviously a very long way to go, but just looking around, I mean, the 3 women that are invited to this panel to speak, we're relatively young in our careers, if you will, right? And so I think that time is coming where, you know, we will be able to be part of the C-suite, and there will be women in leadership roles, because it does take time, you know, to get those positions based on experience, years of experience, and when those opportunities arise. And so I'm hopeful that it'll change during our careers, and I think that, you know, this group is part of that. And so I'm really grateful. I mean, when I first started in real estate, I was working with all men. I was the only woman. And I was the analyst, right? And so it's different. You see a lot of analysts, women starting as analyst roles when they're first out of college, but by the time you get up to the VP, SVP level, especially C-suite level, EVP level, that's when it really thins out. And so I think we need to continue to, you know, to push for that and continue to encourage women through even their college careers to start, you know, that should be their goal. That's really where they should be focused. If they want to be a CEO of a real estate company, they should go for it. And we as an industry, should give them those opportunities to have experience in those roles.
Love it.
Nele, any thoughts on
Yeah,
women
I
in real estate?
Yeah, I agree with what everything that Carmen said, and Craig, then you and Linda. I think conferences are getting much better. And thinking back to my involvement with the Castell program, I think Pebblebrook, and then obviously you came along with her, right? And that program, I think, did a great deal to enhance the visibility for women. Yeah. And I think she did an amazing job teaching women to speak authentically. And I think that's what is going to resonate and will continue to resonate, right, with the audience and listeners in conferences, etc. And I think, we just gotta continue doing the work. And I am so appreciative that of you, Lan, that you're continuing to do the work. I think the future looks bright.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for the call out to Peggy Berg, who is such an inspiration, and also a woman in real estate who was always a visionary, and also being the first one to say, you know what, we need more women in leadership. It's time. And her inspiration, working with Fern Cantor and Deborah Cox to set up Castell at College to bring executive women to speak at hospitality schools. I think it's important for young women to see women in leadership roles that are out there representing. But I also, for the women, for a lot of them, it was their first time to be invited to be a speaker. And I know it was for me. I'd been in the industry for many, many years and never been invited to be a speaker. And my journey really started with Castell at College when I spoke on that first panel. And then Peggy said, hey, I want you to set these up with the universities so that we can have more opportunities for women to speak. And it's been an interesting journey to find myself now doing a lot of public speaking. I recently gave a speech at Toastmasters, which I joined like 2 years ago. After all these years, I realized I actually did need it. I needed it in my 20s, but I didn't know it then. But my last, one of my last speeches at Toastmasters was titled, I Never Planned to Be a Public Speaker. That was the name of my speech. Nice. But I'm curious for each of you, how comfortable are you with public speaking, and how do you prepare? What's your thought about saying yes to speaking opportunities? Because as we got into working with conference organizers, one thing we found was that women often say no to speaking opportunities. So one is, how do we get them more invitations? And the second part is, how do we get them to say yes? So I'm just curious about your public speaking journeys, your thoughts on it.
I think for me, going back to Nele's point, mine really started with Castell, right? Peggy was sort of the catalyst to be like, you should be speaking to more people. And I was like, should I? Like, imposter syndrome is really real. But she really helped push me along and say, like, go speak to some college kids. And then seeing how, me talking about my journey impacted those kids and them reaching out to me after talking to them really resonated with me. And I was like, I really should be out there and, showing young women that they can have an interesting career in hospitality and they don't just have to work at the front desk. So that really pushed me forward. I never say no to a speaking engagement. I remember the first time I spoke at Hunter, Glenn Hausman was the moderator of the panel. And I remember I went to the panel with like all my notes written out. And then Glenn was just so off the cuff, he was like running around the stage, didn't sit down once. And I was like, why did I even write anything down? Let me just go with the flow. And ever since then, I feel like it's more authentic when you can speak from the heart and just really talk about the journey and what's impacted you. And I find that really does resonate with people. So I try to tap into that whenever I'm speaking anywhere.
I think that's a great idea. And that's one of the things I learned from Glenn as well. And Dr. Producer, Director Suzanne also does his show. And we do a show together. But it's always that authenticity that I want to pull out of the panelists. And I think that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, similarly to
Yeah,
Carmen,
Glenn's like one of the.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
Oh, I was just going to say, similar to Carmen, my public speaking journey really did start with Castell as well. I mean, I had never been invited to speak, and I think that just gave me the opportunity, because when you're in front of college students, you know, you do feel more comfortable because you realize you are an expert in your field and you have learned a lot and you have a lot to share with students who are currently in hotel school. So that gives you more confidence. And then from there, I've been able to get speaking engagements at, you know, Alice Summer Updates and some other conferences. And so I think, you know, you definitely do have to prepare in terms of just making sure that you know how to answer the questions and know how you want to respond to the questions. But typically what you do on a daily basis, that's what they're going to ask you anyway. And you do know what you're talking about when you're doing this day in and day out for your job. And so, you know, you find that relief after you've done it a few times that you actually do know what you're talking about, and people want to hear what you have to say.
I love that.
Yeah, I agree. I would also say never say no, right? Always say yes, like Carmen said. And then repetition makes a master, right? The more you do it, the easier it gets. Prepare, right? Storytelling is always a favorite among, you know, listeners, and that resonates. So yeah, I hope a lot of women learn from you know, us and other women speaking, and will come up behind us.
Absolutely. Peggy has always done an outstanding job. And I, you know, I'm really glad that all of you had the opportunity to meet her and be involved with speaking engagements with her. You know, Lan, maybe you can jump into that just a little bit more and how that affected you. Sorry, I'm going to ask you 3 questions today. One more comment.
I think I had never been asked to share my thoughts in that kind of way before. I always was just focused on my work, and talking about me or my experiences was never something I did up until I started going to those Castell at College events and talking about my career and how I found my path, and talking about some of the things that we've overcome. And I think that was maybe the first step. But because I was involved in that, Peggy invited me to a meeting that Rachel Humphrey had put together of the Women in Hospitality Leadership Alliance. And it was the very first meeting. And I just happened to be at Alice with Peggy, and she said, come with me to this meeting. And I thought, wow, it's kind of early, I don't know. But I went to the meeting, and at this meeting were all these incredible people who were looking to advance women in hospitality leadership. And I thought, what a great organization. And it's funny because during that meeting, we went around the table and everyone talked about what their organization did. And it was a smaller group then, but there were still a lot of people around this big table. It's now 33 organizations. But I remember David Kong said he was just retiring. He was about to win a big award being honored at Alice the next day. And he said he was going to start doing interviews with industry leaders. And I thought, I've been curious about how do some people make it to leadership and other people don't? And I had been planning to start doing some interviews, and not understanding what I was doing at all. I walked up to him and introduced myself, and he didn't know me from Adam. And I said, well, I'm planning to do interviews and you're doing interviews. Maybe I could do them with you. And he's such a lovely human being, again, not knowing me at all. He said, okay. And that's how I started doing podcast interviews. If I knew what I was signing up for or volunteering myself for, I might not have done it, but I kind of did it without understanding what I was doing. But I love a challenge. And I think anyone who's working on deals or trying to figure out how do we turn around a hotel, like, you thrive on finding, like, how do we find the answer, right? And so I love a challenge. And I thought, okay, well, this is a new mountain I have to climb. This is the new one in front of me, is to learn how to become a podcast host and how to interview guests. And I've now done almost 80 interviews. Altogether, the podcast, It's Personal Stories, has over 250.
Nice.
But it's exactly like Nele said, it's repetition. You get better when you do things again and again. and you learn a little tip. You know, my first time speaking at Alice, I was up on the big stage. I was a panelist, and I asked a friend to take a picture so I could have a picture of me as a panelist on the big stage. And then I looked at myself at those pictures, and I was like, that dress that looked long enough when I was standing was not a good length when I'm sitting down up on stage. And I thought, okay, never making that mistake again. But it's that thing, right? I always say public speaking is like learning to surf. You can't learn by watching a video or reading a book. You got to get up there and fall off multiple times. Not that I know how to surf, but I'm pretty sure you have to get up on the surfboard many, many times in order to be any good at it.
Absolutely. Okay, Carmen, let me ask you this first. You know, you're busy. You're doing development. You're getting your financing. You're doing your asset management. You've got clients, and you're involved on every front imaginable, with the exception of probably running the hotel day to day. So, do you have any upcoming speaking engagements in 2026?
So I'll be speaking at Alice in January. Very excited about that. And that came through the speaker directory and Rachel Humphreys. So that is a great opportunity. Nothing else on the calendar. I'm waiting for NYU to call me still, but you know.
Now, let me call Glenn Hausman and see if he can prod somebody. He's really good at that. So, Nele, how about you?
Yeah, I'm working on a few opportunities, but love to participate in other events, even small events. I genuinely enjoy this. It's a lot of fun, and frankly, as a German, I always get a kick out of making people laugh and correcting my nationality's reputation for not being lighthearted nor funny. So if I can correct that and talk about hospitality, it's a win-win.
I love it. Linda, how about you?
Nothing on the calendar yet, but I have received an invitation, so I'm just checking my calendar right now to see if I can participate. But yeah, I plan to say yes next year, so I'm looking forward to 2026 and being on some panels.
Good. I'm glad to hear that with all of you. That's
you know, I try to say yes. Like I can't ask women to say yes to speaking opportunities, and then I turn them down. So I feel like I have to do what I ask other people to do. And recently I got asked to be on the Hospitality Tech Show, and I'm like, are you sure you want me? Because I'm the furthest person from a technology person. And I thought, I don't, they sent me a list of questions. You can pick from one of these. And I'm like, nope. They finally talked about students. And I thought, okay, I can talk about students because that's one of the things I love is working with students. But sometimes you have to trust the people who are inviting you. And the person who interviewed me it turns out he was a former journalist and was amazing to have a conversation with. And even when you think like, maybe I have nothing to say on this topic, we did a nice long interview and I found something to say. I hope some of it was right.
Nice. Love it.
All right, so I wanted to ask about the speaker directory. One of the things I've been in touch with all of you about is the Alliance's speaker directory. We put that together last year, again, to address this thing that we always hear is that there are no women. And I said, with a few Rolodexes, I guess we call them contact lists now, we launched last year with 700 women. I was just looking this morning, we are closing in on 1,800 women in the speaker directory. And it's been incredible. We thought it would be a great resource for conference organizers, but we found it's also been great for recruiters and for people looking to add to boards or looking for podcast guests or quotes in media and that sort of thing. And I'm curious if you're starting to see some real change. Our hope is that no one will ever again say there are no women, but curious if you're starting to see some positive change in the last couple years, because there have been a lot of efforts since COVID, and then there's been some steps back with some changes in government laws. And I'm just kind of curious, what are you seeing out there? What's your perception of, are we starting to see more women, or even women in real estate?
I mean, I think it's not perfect, but it's definitely evolving. And I think that's all we can really ask. And, Ford happened at an interesting time this year because it happened right when we saw a lot of shift in the political climate around DE&I. And I think women that were attending Ford were wanting to hear from speakers and panelists and moderators, like, how do you feel about what's going on? They didn't want us to just ignore it. They wanted us to address it head on. And I think our industry has done a great job of ignoring some of the noise around that and still focusing on, we still need more women. And I feel really like motivated seeing the lodging conference speaker list, right? They had a great lineup of women on their list, seeing who's speaking at Alice. Like, I think our industry really is focused on getting more women into highly visible seats. We still have a long ways to go, but we're making progress. And I think that's all we can ask right now.
I would agree with that. And I think the directory and the trends that I've seen will only accelerate that. I think representation matters, and the more representation, is there, the more women will come up. And I think we've seen an acceleration of women being represented. So I think the work that you've done with the directory is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the directory is amazing because it's really the first time there has been just a list and contact information for all these women who are in our industry. And, you can get the attendee list from the Forward conference or, whatever conferences you attend and kind of pick out the women who are there. But this is really the first resource that we've had available for our industry where all the women are collected in one directory, which I think is amazing. I mean, anyone who wants a woman on their panel can go to that directory and find appropriate people to speak on their panel. So thank you for arranging it. I think it's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, we hope it will make a difference. We hope no one will ever say there are no women ever again. And yeah. Craig?
Absolutely. Well, I have one last question for everybody. Then we're going to ask Lan to go over the directory and review and take care of all of that. Now, I remember what I was like at 21. So if you could write yourself a letter, your 21-year-old self, what would you say? And Lan, you're going to be the last one. So I want to start with Linda on this, please.
It was so long ago, I barely remember my 21-year-old self, but I do remember not being very confident in what I was doing. Again, it was my first real job in hospitality, working at a hotel, started out in housekeeping. I worked really hard to try to learn all facets of the hotel and operations. And so I think what I would say to my 21-year-old self, and I think this is kind of prevalent throughout a lot of women that I have worked with in the past, is that we all try to be super perfectionists, and we all try to be, we try to master every skill there is to learn. And sometimes as a leader, you don't need to know exactly how to do every single, task on your team, but you need team members who work for you that know what they're doing and be experts in that field. And so I tried to learn everything and try to be a master of all skills. And I think that maybe made my journey a little bit slower than others. And so I think I would tell my 21-year-old self to just be confident, know what you know what you don't know, surround yourself with strong people, and you can probably, accelerate faster in your career. And so I think for me, it would really be giving that advice is try not to be too much of a perfectionist, even though it's always good to be a perfectionist. But just concentrating a little too much on the details, I would say.
Nice. Nele?
Yeah, 21 years old. I also don't really remember. I tell my kids, though, that I'm still 29 every day. And never age above 29.
Nice.
I think I would have told myself that there are more opportunities out there that I could ever imagine, that I should trust my curiosity and integrity and courage, more so than, like Linda said, try to prove my worth to getting everything right. And then I think most importantly, love every day, connect with people, and enjoy the ride and be very grateful.
Carmen?
I'm still 21, so I don't know what Nele and Linda are talking about. But, you know, I think if I could tell my 21-year-old self anything, I would say, you don't have to outrun failure to succeed. And the path is not linear. It will twist and it will bend and it will stretch you and it will break you, but you will make it to the other side. And people will underestimate you, but let that fuel you. Don't underestimate yourself. And you belong in every room that you walk into. And when everything else fails, hold on to your faith, because that will sustain you.
Love it. Lan?
I think it's changed over the years. I think I had that perfection thing as well. I think now what I would tell my 21-year-old self, it's been a long journey. When you're the only woman in the room, it's very hard to be vulnerable. But I would tell her to be vulnerable enough to ask for help, that you don't know what you don't know, and find some people that you think will be supportive of you and ask for advice, because it just doesn't fall out of the sky. People don't see you struggling and come over and help you. You actually need to be brave enough to ask for help and say, how could I do this differently? And I think that perfection thing, I always thought, well, I can just figure it out. I'll just work harder. I'll just do the things that always made me successful before. But I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't have the tools. And if I would have been brave enough to ask, I think I could have accelerated where I was much faster.
Nice. I love it. Well, Lan, you're going to close everything up, and I'll wrap it up after that. So tell everybody about the directory, would you please? I mean, it's a great resource for everybody.
Thank you, Craig. It is the directory. The speaker directory is an initiative of the Women in Hospitality Leadership Alliance. And the Alliance, as I mentioned, is an organization that was founded by Rachel Humphrey. It's made up of 33 organizations. And the goal of the Alliance is really to amplify those 33 organizations. And as Rachel has told me many times, the job of the Alliance is not to have new initiatives like the speaker directory that I pestered her to do. But it ended up being a wonderful effort across numerous organizations within the Alliance that together worked and created the speaker directory that you see today. So launch in 2024, and now with almost 1,800 women. If you would like to be in the speaker directory, or for our audience, if you know of someone who should be in the speaker directory, it's really easy to add people. You go to the Alliance's website, which is whlalliance.org. If you click on the tab for speaking opportunities, you'll see our email address. Reach out and let us know that you'd like to be in the speaker directory, or that you have an amazing woman that you think should be in there. And I hope to see everyone there.
Perfect. I would like to thank all of you for this very special episode. Carmen, I've sent that text out, so hopefully I can help you get that much closer. I would like to invite all of you back to do an episode of CLIC Connect with me. We'll get through the holidays, and I and Director Suzanne will reach out to you, and we'll get you booked to do your own episode. I love talking deals. Hospitality is taking care of me and my family, and it just always brings me back to the best people. And thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Take care. Great show, Lan. Outstanding job. Thank you so much for putting this all together.
Oh, thank you. super easy when you have amazing guests. And I was really thrilled that these three ladies were able to join us. And thank you for the opportunity. I know from your story that your mom is really important in why you're so incredibly supportive of women in leadership. And I'm very grateful to you and your support.
I'm grateful to you for your friendship, your knowledge, and being your open self with me from the get-go. It was when we first met, it was like, oh, this is a friend. I like this. So yeah. So thank you.
Thanks.
I'll see you in a minute. Thank you for joining us today. This has been an incredible opportunity for you, our audience, for the conference promoters out there. One of the toughest things that I had to do was come up with panelists. But I've got to tell you, from the inception of CLIC, we always had women on panelists or moderating, and you need to talk to these women. Get them on your deal panels. Get them on your ops panels. Get them on your AI panels. Matter of fact, Dr. Producer Director Suzanne's going to join me at the Memphis Lodging conference next year on the AI panel. And I'm going to be moderating for the second year in a row. So, great opportunities, great tool. Reach out to the Women in Hospitality Leadership Alliance. Become part of the program. Help. I'd appreciate it. Thank you all. Go out and be amazing today. Share your knowledge. Make an impact on everybody. Thank you.